Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Mannino and Nareman Hamdan, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hi, everybody. This is Michael Mannino with Driven Unscripted Success podcast. Today on the podcast, we're interviewing professionals who share their experience with you, the viewers, and how they got to where they're at today. And zooming from the beautiful island of Fort Myers. Right. Is that really an island, or is it more of a peninsula kind of thing?
It's more of a peninsula type of thing. It's
Cool.
It's on the mainland.
Tom Waring, he's a financial advisor with Note Advisors.
Mm-hmm.
Tom, could you introduce yourself?
I'm Tom Waring, as Michael said, with Note Advisors. I'm one of two owners. Founded Note Advisors about 14 years ago. My business partner, Sean, mid-40s. I am 67, enjoying seeing a vision of my business come true, as I was saying earlier to you, Michael. And that vision formed in the late 30s. It was to grow a business that would allow me to play in the sandbox well after I no longer owned it, as long as I had something to bring to the table. God gives me the gift of being able to do that physically and mentally still. So, and I'd be transitioning out of the ownership in the next 3 to 4 years.
Awesome. Very awesome. So this is what we call a success story.
Yep. There was some cheers behind it, Michael.
Well, the objective is to get to the 1%. And I've interviewed a bunch of 1%ers, and they always say the same thing. The 1% is where you have to do 99% of what people aren't willing to do.
You're probably familiar with the common denominator of success. I think it was delivered by Albert Gray in 1957. And it was the successful people form the habit of doing the things that everyone doesn't like to do, including them, to become a success.
It is 100% true. The stuff I hate is the stuff that gets me further.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Who likes cold calling?
Nobody. Nobody likes cold calling. Nobody.
Yeah. They're having a door.
Could you give a quick snapshot of how you got to where you're at from beginning to end?
Sure.
I started off as a waiter, so.
Right. I was in college, finished up, and I was looking to become a police officer at the point. There was a lot going on in America that was with challenges to become a police officer. I was
in New York.
Yeah, New York. Yeah.
Oh, and God love you for wanting to do that.
Yeah. Well, I remember this was 1980. 2024, 2025. I wouldn't be applying to be a police officer in New York.
Right.
They actually liked the police officers in 1980. Yeah, so they should still like them today, by the way. But
I agree.
But right out of college, I answered a sales career because that's something I knew I could do. Ended up in the insurance business. Spent about 18 months with one company. Wasn't well led, wasn't well managed, and was thinking about leaving. Met a gentleman who's deceased, unfortunately, a very good mentor of mine. His name, Mike, was also Mike.
Awesome.
And Mike mentored me, taught me how to think like a businessman, how to behave like a business person, and I owe a great deal of gratitude to Mike. And you fast forward about 15 years ago, I met Sean after about 3 false starts of who I might have a succession plan with. About 14 years ago, Sean made it clear to me that he was interested in being a successor, but he wanted to change the form of our business. We were with a large broker dealer. We formed our own independent RIA, registered with the SEC. Sean leads the compliance and the investment management side. I do what I've done for a lot of years, and as working with closely held business owners. Many of them are now around my age, so I'm dealing with a lot of individuals that are facing the single business financial decision they've ever made, exiting their business and cashing in a lifetime of earnings. Dealing with that psychologically too, because you've been known for 40 years as the CEO of XYZ, and you're going to want to get known as something else, right? Once you cash out. So dealing with some of the psychological issues, some of the relevance issues, helping them through that. I call it getting the bride ready to show up at the altar, because too many times business owners, everyone works on a transaction and the owner backs out. So the bride doesn't show up. So I'm doing a lot of that work, compensation planning. I just finished 6 years as a director of a publicly traded bank, Evans Bank, that was just acquired by NBT. I worked as the comp chair and HR chair for a number of years, which gave me that opportunity to understand compensation planning and the nuances around that as well.
Awesome. And you started Note 15 years ago,
Yep.
and you're doing exactly what you're showing your clients to do, is getting ready to exit.
Yep. And having
So
fun doing it.
there you go. I mean, that's really the key of business. It's just having fun doing it. You know, I really think work is a gift, and I enjoy it. I sincerely enjoy it. Whenever a problem comes up, I just love solving it. And
Yep.
every time a problem comes up, whoever I'm talking to, you know, they go, "Well, you're a little too happy on this." I'm like, "I'm a million and 0 on problems. This one's going to get solved too,
Right.
right?"
Right. Yep.
So it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch the gears work on other people when they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, he's got a different outlook on this."
Yeah, and usually, Mike, I'm sure you agree, is a lot of times it's just you're standing far enough away from the forest, the old metaphor, that you can actually see the problem. They're focusing on this, and the problem is really this. Right? Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
I like to. I'm a fifth degree black belt, and I like to say it. I like to give them a different perspective. Uh, who has, you know, there's two fighters in a ring. There's a counter fighter, and there's an attacker. Who has the best view of what's going on? And they always say the counter fighter because he sees the first person that moves. And I go, nah, it's really the referee, because he's biased in the, you know, in the, just like you said, outside the forest. And
right.
he's biased and sees the counter and the attacker, and he has the best view of it. I always like, I hate to say it, I love reffing matches, and I hate reffing matches because because I know what they're doing wrong, but as a ref, you can't say anything. You're like, block, do a high
Yeah.
block, please, I'm
No,
begging you, you know, but you can't say a word.
no, don't.
But yeah, don't. And but you can stand back enough and say, hey, listen, maybe you should be doing this, or maybe you should be doing that. That's a better position to be in.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey, Tom, there's a lot of competition out there. And in business, it looks like you're killing it. What do you do that sets you apart from everybody else? What
Well,
comes easy to you, basically?
well, I'll tell you, it wasn't necessarily easy, but about 13 years ago, when we recruited the first female financial planner to our firm, the name of our firm was really creative at the time. It was GCW, three guys' last names, their initials. Really, I mean, I'm amazed we're not hired to do marketing, but and branding. So we went through a branding exercise, and the emphasis, I think the most brilliant thing we did was we said to Eric, the gentleman taking us through it, when we recognized the name was going to be Neo and all the background behind that, hey, we're ready to go. We said, no, we started this initiative because none of our people identified with GCW. We don't want to be selling Note and what Note is to the outside world until all of our people see themselves as Note, that they're all a part of the Note team. So we went to work internally. And what came from that, I stumbled over a word called eudaimonia about 4 years ago, looked it up. Greek word with great meaning about highest human good, fulfillment, well-being. And that has found its way into some of our vision and vision statements that came from our employees doing that. So I think it's the focus. We have on the wall in our office the definition of eudaimonia, and it talks about doing the highest human good and well-being. And I said to Sean, if we're going to put and it's on the wall in the area where our employees' private offices are, the public doesn't
Nice.
see it. The public doesn't see it. So Sean and I, when we put it up there, say, you know who we're making the commitment to. We're not making
Yeah,
a commitment to, oh, look how great we are as an employer. It's on the back wall. So every day when we're making decisions about some things that maybe one of our employees isn't quite doing what we wanted, is how's our decision going to hold up against eudaimonia? It doesn't
really.
mean we don't hold people accountable or treat them as they're capable of being responsible,
Hmm.
but you come at it differently because of that. So I think, and then that, I think, to answer your question, seeps through the phones and the email messages and the communications and interactions that our clients and our prospects have with our people. Like, wow, you guys really are different. Because I don't think they're hearing from our people. Yeah, I hate my boss. I hate this place. I can't wait to quit.
Like you were at the beginning. You wanted out of that
yeah,
one company, right? Now you're
yeah.
like, and mindset on your business.
Mhm.
You know, not just your mindset, the people that work with you's mindsets are very important. I mean, you can move mountains if everybody's on the same page.
Yep. Yeah. Checking in. So we're very mindful of how are people doing. It's not something we were trained, Sean and I. It is not our natural swing. So we hired somebody 4 years ago, Lori, who's been very thoughtful in educating us that what our needs of our people are, and working Sean and I closer and closer to our people so that we actually have a bond with them. So
Yes, I agree. Do you guys, when I had people work with me, I'm stepping out of that. We always had Christmas parties and take them out to lunch on their birthdays, and just interact with them as much as possible and see what they're, how they feel about the business, and what can we do to make their experience better and easier and faster. And when you work together in a symbiotic relationship, it's just you can't lose.
no, it's truly, it's fun. I would say the word love. There was a book written, Love is Free, Guac is Extra. It was written by Manny Moran, a former co-CEO of Chipotle. Okay.
Really?
It talks about, his approach to how he co-led Chipotle and what he did to kind of turn it around. And it was a lot about, he used the word love in there. And when I first saw it, Sean and I mean, I saw the ad for this book in Bank Directors Magazine, bright red page in Bank Directors Magazine. I'm thinking, all right, did I pick up the wrong book? Is this my wife's, is it some magazine my wife reads normally, or is it Sports Illustrated, right? I'm looking,
Right.
and it said, Love is Free, Guac is Extra. I looked up the website, bought the book, and got familiar with his work. But I will tell you, the word love, in the sense of loving our people, respecting them, caring about them deeply. We're working right now acquiring a small firm, and they wanted us to remove our ability to refuse a client. And their attorney is saying, well, we have to have some arms. Like I said, no, because I got to tell you something. I don't care how long you've been working with Ed Jones. If Ed Jones mistreats one of our people, we will.
Yeah, exactly.
I said he will. He will go out of the firm faster than someone going out of a jet.
Right.
That was just hit the eject button. So
I can't agree with you more. When I don't know how many clients I've looked at and said, I don't think we're gonna work well together. And they go, well, you don't want my money? I'm like, no. And they don't even know what to say. I'm like, we have a great working environment, and I don't want you to interrupt it. I'm
Right.
so sorry.
Amen.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think me and you are the same person, different age. If someone was listening to us right now, some of the viewers, and they want to get better at the thing you're really good at, what would you suggest they do, and what tips would you give them?
This one is relatively new to my mind. I just read a book, The AI Edge, and in the book, I thought it was going to be mostly about AI. It was actually about great sales, common sense sales skills. So one of the things would be realizing that if you've got a negative view of sales, it's probably not because you saw the word sales in a book somewhere or was offended by the definition. It's probably that somebody did a really poor job
Poor job.
trying to sell you on something. So,
Agreed.
right. And it might have been that salesperson, but so many people that I see, they try to duck that sales. I say to the young guys in our firm, hey, Mario, your wife said, or your girlfriend said yes to marry you. Yeah, good sale. You go, dude.
You're selling yourself.
A lot of
I
other
agree with
good-looking guys. Yeah. So
wholeheartedly.
one is get comfortable with the notion that you are selling, and that is an honorable thing. I mean, to do if you do it right and you do it professionally with a lot of ethics and core values. Secondly, in business, if you're a business owner, is to, and I heard this a lot when I was young, get a vision, get a mission statement. Everybody was putting mission statements up in the hallway because that was going to sell more things. No, people can see through that. But I had a vision that came to me in my mid-30s. Long story, it was really watching two guys who were very successful, building businesses that outlast them. So I just watched what they were doing. And a vision came to me several times. It's one about me being in Italy and blah, 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 blah. I've been, in Tuscany and where I've been, and having this vision of having a business where I'm sitting there in my 70s, and this is when I was in my 30s, getting a phone call are calling my office saying, hey, look, I'm in Tuscany. I'm in the vineyard with this guy from Texas. He's got these issues going on in his business. Would you guys take care of it? 3 weeks later, I see him in Tuscany again in a vineyard, and he's yelling. All I know, I don't know the guy's name, but he's got a Texas drawl. That was in the vision. And he's saying, your people are great. You're awesome. And I thought, all right, this is, and I'm having a glass of wine, and I'm the one in Tuscany. The crew's back in the States. And that vision came to me. And it's been compelling. Anytime my ego in the last 7 or 8 years, when I've been making this transition out of the business and having Sean become the leader and Sean become the CEO, that little voice that says, well, make sure you get credit because you started the company before the company that started this company. And you got to make sure that, you've earned it, Tom. Tom, you've earned it. You should be getting that award. This voice goes, how's the vision going? You want to listen to the guy on the right shoulder. You're going to end up back at work and you won't be fine. Yeah.
I heard someone say it this way. He goes, your ego is not your amigo. And I'm
Right.
like, ew.
Right.
That is 100% true.
Amen.
I was hoping the guy from Chipotle said that.
Yeah. That book is awesome. Yeah.
Really?
It's really good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm on the Lords of Money, and it's about the FOMA, the Federal Monetary System. And it really is a great book. You would think that it's so boring and dull, but this one was really, really well. It talks about Greenspan. It talks about all the leaders of it. It's really, really cool. But I'm going to check out what was the name of that again? There's another recommendation for a book.
Love is Free.
Love is Free.
Love is Free. Guac is Extra. It was written about
Guac is extra.
Guac is extra.
So I love that.
And you think about it, right? He's saying love is free at Chipotle. Guac is extra. Yeah. So, and he's written another one since. It's about human flourishing. I forget the title. I've read that, but you'll find a reference to that when you look up on Amazon or wherever you get your book at. But it's a great book. Anybody that's read it has come back to me who's running a business saying thank you. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
I don't get Monty Moran's royalties, but I get a thank you from the people I refer to. I should have wrote them.
Isn't thank you the best?
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a question that really blows everybody's mind. Everybody's had problems in their business. Everybody. What is the biggest challenge you had, and how have you overcome it?
The biggest one. I'm making sure I clean up my language because it would be something you might call yourself that begins with an A and ends with an E. Not behaving like one of them.
Right.
Not being aware of, particularly when our company was smaller, how much my disposition, and being in sales, sometimes you have bad days. When I would come through the door, how my disposition, and I'm quoting a young lady that used to work for me for about 12 or 13 years. She was awesome. She said to me, Tom, I don't think you have any idea how much you change the weather inside this office when you enter it.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty profound. And I was bringing in the gray skies and the lightning. Wasn't bringing in the sunshine.
Really? I thought it was from this interview, I would have assumed you're bringing the sunshine.
I had a lot of people who helped coached me to that, and one of them was Renee saying that to me one day, and I wasn't aware. I would come in, I didn't make a sale, I'd have worries on me. How am I going to make payroll? Blah 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 blah. And if the people that work for you wanted to be business owners and carry that level of risk, they'd go do it. So what it was I had to start surrounding myself with some other people, other business owners and stuff, who you could say, man, do you ever, how do you do? And the other thing I had to do, go to the gym instead of going to the office. Because if I brought the gray cloud into the gym and brought sunshine into the office as a result.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you go in the mornings. I started 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock every day.
That was the biggest one, though, is realizing the impact I had on the people in the office and the impact they have on the people that I'm fighting like heck to become clients, right? And if I'm not taking care of the people, they're going to take care of the clients. The sale I made to the client isn't going to match up with the reality they receive.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's big. That's good. I love it.
Yeah.
Sounds like things are going really well for you in your business, and looking forward to the future. we want to try and give some people some ideas of how you've done well, you've worked hard, you've created income. How do you create passive income from here on in?
Well, as I did mention, we have a wealth management business. So, the wealth management business, as you grow that, grows reoccurring income. I might call it passive because I'm not in there on the investment committee working every day. I don't think they'd call it passive. So,
Exactly.
for Tom, it's kind of passive, right? The other passive income is I have, through my work and through, I think it's Alan Weiss, who's like the advisor's coach. I read a couple of his books, realized that when I am billing, because I do quite a bit of consulting work now, outside the financial planning, outside the investment management, that's almost all I'm doing, is realizing that I'm billing for the value I'm creating, not per hour or the time I'm putting in, right? Because the heart surgeon doesn't say, okay, well, that was only an hour. I bill out at $350 an hour or $1,000.
Heart surgeon, they bill more than that.
Right, exactly. You're paying for them becoming a heart surgeon. So learning that has helped create, I would say, magnified active income. Right?
Gotcha.
Right? Because hearing that someone, $350 an hour, no, this is my fee, this is what we charge, this is what I'll agree to do. And if I get it done because I have knowledge and wisdom sooner, because, if I'm having heart surgery, I'm okay if the doctor gets it done in 2 hours rather than 7. I don't want to working overtime.
Right? Exactly. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let him do it and do his job. That's the one thing I know. I like, as a builder, I've built many houses and buildings and stuff like that. And the contractors always come up to me, go, what about this? What about this? And I'm like, what would you do? And they tell me, I go, let's do that. Unless it wasn't something ridiculous, I'd say, let's do that. I'm like, you're going to know electrical better than me. You're going to know plumbing better than me. And the HVAC guy understands heating and cooling way better than I do.
Right.
I have a general knowledge, and I really trust the people that are working with me.
That's true, Mike, in almost every walk of life, even on the personal side. I live down here in a gated community down here in Florida, and I watch people working over the landscapers are trying to squeeze this one because they had an expertise in some business, and they have no, and you ask them, by the way, what did you do for a living? Well, I was head of HR. All right, so you're telling the guy, all right, putting tile in your house, how to do it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you surprised by the tile contractor who experienced you once is never available to work with you?
No, yeah, you surprised?
Yeah.
I love working with all my contractors. They've been great my entire life. And sometimes they're energy bus. Sometimes you invite them on the bus, and sometimes you got to invite them off the bus.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's who do you trust, right? If they're on the bus, if you trust them, right? Yeah.
Right. I had a very active building company, and all of my contractors, I'd give them keys to my house, no problem. I trust every one of the contractors that I dealt with. And I've had them for 20 years. So it's not like, I just found these guys and I give them the keys to my house. It's just that these guys I've known for so long. I'd work on their houses, their personal, and they give me the keys to their houses. I go in the back door, the combinations, this and this. Yeah. And like you said, that level of trust is paramount. I mean, you can move mountains with that.
Well, the other thing is, and you maybe think of this, is I don't know if the book was published by, I think, Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Not published by them, but they wrote it together, called Who, Not How. If you try to do everything, you're not going to get much done. So,
that titles everything.
Yeah. Too many people think, how am I going to get done versus who's going to get it done? And there's a lot of stories I could tell you about being down here in Florida, having a beautiful home, was when my wife and I stopped figuring out how we were going to find real estate in Florida and found the right who. And within 2 months, we had our place. Okay.
Nice.
How
long have you been living there?
Lived here in Florida now 5 years, lived at our home about a little over 2 that we purchased. Yeah.
Nice. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
So the interview's, getting close to the end. What do you do in what's your plans? What's the next steps for you guys? What are you doing in the next 6-12 months?
Oh,
quitting? Just going to Italy and having the wine? Waiting for the Texan to come out?
Yeah, well, we have a little French bulldog who's 15 years old. So I never heard the joke about grandpa. The grandson walks up to his grandfather and says, "Grandpa, can you make a noise like a frog?" And grandfather says, "Why?" He says, "Mom tells me when you die, we're going to go to Disneyland. No, when you croak, we go to Disneyland. When you croak, we go to Disneyland." So our French bulldog is kind of in that same position. When he croaks, we're going to go to Italy. But so I'm hoping that's not in the next 6 to 12 months. But professionally, what I think we do, I just had a meeting today with my business partner. We're going to get him comfortable with spending more time as a CEO, more time in front of the next highest, most ideal clients without his fear that the business that he is currently active in, the clients he's currently serving, through growing the team, our director of operations and I helping develop that team to come up behind him.
Mhm.
So that's the next 12 to 18 months. That's our primary focus, is get Sean more of that time to think, CEO time, less in the trenches. I personally, I don't see myself exiting right now because I don't want to make that capital pressure on the company. We're acquiring a small RIA this month. We're thinking about acquiring a CPA, small CPA firm. And that's why I'm not going to make a liquidity demand. I don't need it. But I would think by 71, 72, so sometime in the next 4 years, I'll be looking to, exit the business from an ownership standpoint, because that's the final test for me. Is if I'm still invited in the boardroom when I'm 73 or 74, assuming I have the wits, right? Mental capacity.
Right.
I want to be there because I bring something to the table, and they invited me because I've been in too many boardrooms at the age of 30 and 40 where the 75 or 80-year-old walk out. It's kind of what's going on in Washington right now. The 84, 85-year-old walks out and they go, when the hell are they going to quit or die?
Right.
I don't want that. I want them going, oh my God, it was so cool to have Tom in the office and not have any ownership. When I get there, I might will have achieved every aspect of my vision.
Nice. Well, it
Yeah,
looks like you're getting there. You're almost there. You're at the apex of
yeah,
your goals. That is fantastic.
yeah. It's
Okay, I
fun.
got one last great question for you. So if you can go back in the past and
Mhm.
you're a young man, 20, 25 years old, you had all the knowledge you had now, what would you do different and what would you do the same?
Hmm. I would have, uh, I think, spent a lot. One of my words was worry. I would have spent a lot less time worrying. All right, because I would have the self-confidence, right, and the awareness that I actually can do it. Um, there's an expression, it's not mine, that the problem with worrying is if the thing that you're worrying about doesn't occur, you lived it once unnecessarily. If it does occur, you got to live it twice. So there's no value in worrying. So that would have been one, because that worrying behavior caused me to have a scarcity mindset. I literally just had a friend die yesterday, 64 years old, who was in the insurance business for many years, and his name was Tom. I think my relationship with Tom would have been a little bit different. It was great, but there were times where we bumped heads because he was calling on someone that I was calling on, and that scarcity mindset got in the way. And
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
reflecting on that because he just died yesterday. So this question is very pointed to me, is that, but those would be, I think worry is wasteful.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. When you look back, someone did a stat and they said I think it's 60 to 70% of the things you worry about don't even come across your table.
I know, I know. I'd love to tell you I lost my hair through worry, but I think it's genetic.
But you can't lie that much, right?
Yeah, it's genetic. I didn't
I
even know.
gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. But
Hey
that was,
Tom, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. You gave a lot of value to the audience, and we really do appreciate it. Real
pleasure.
quick, if anybody want to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Either one, Tom, Tom, at NOTE, advisor, ADVISOR.com, or I'm okay, 716-912-2142. If you do text me, reference this conversation, because I get a lot of texts from
Nice.
people who want to scam me. So,
They do.
yeah,
They do.
yeah.
So, Driven Unscripted Success podcast, and just talk to Tom. He's an amazing individual. We appreciate it. All right, we're going to let you go. Thank you very much for coming out, and really appreciate you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.